Thank you for joining us on another week of our Conversations with the Community series on Instagram Live. Today's guest is very near and dear to my heart. I have the pleasure of being able to work both with Nami San Fernando and Tena Foundation. So before we get started, I do have a couple of announcements to make. We have our program called Ending the Silence. We have 3 presentations coming up, one on Friday, July 24th, Wednesday, July 29th, and then Monday, August 3rd. Link in our bio. We have a link tree set up. You can go find it there. Anyone can join. You don't have to be specifically from San Fernando Valley. It's open to everyone. And then in addition, we have QPRs. We have a couple left. We're very, very close to reaching a goal, which means we only have a couple more classes coming up. So please, if you haven't already yet, sign up. It's open for anyone who lives, works, go to school, any sort of affiliation with the San Fernando Valley. You can attend one of our free classes. Again, link is in the bio. We have one coming up this Saturday, July 25th from 1 to 2:30. So yeah, those are coming up. Go check those out. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Sana from Tena Foundation. All right, let's see. Okay. There we go. Hi, Sana.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you for all the kind words, Krysta.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
So jump right in. Before we get started, I want to just say to our audience, if you have any questions at any point, go ahead and just submit our questions, and then we'll take a few minutes at the end to look at yeah, so let's just start off with introducing who you are, what is Tena Foundation, go from there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Tena Abbasi. I'm one of the co-founders for Tena Foundation. Tena is actually a nonprofit that was created by 3 best friends, and I love saying that because we basically just wanted to give back, but not only give back, teach, show compassion, and learn from the community. So I was part of it. I am part of it. My friend Abdul is part of it, and my friend Jamal is part of it. And we bring completely different dynamics to the table. We're all from different places, and our personalities are completely different too. So this was just our way of doing something bigger, because we didn't want to just be in medicine and not push for change, not push for, reevaluating the policies and the way we speak with the underserved community and our houseless neighbors. That's kind of how it started.
Awesome. Well, very happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, you do great work, Krysta. We're so happy to have you on the team, honestly.
Thanks. So since Tena Foundation started, and all the work and stuff that's been done, how has that changed your insight or your whole perspective on mental health?
So with mental health in general, I just feel like there's a lot of stigmas attached, as we know, and I feel like we carry our own perceptions and experience of mental health to the ground and wherever we go. Mm-hmm. I think that working with underserved communities, seeing how tough it is on the streets, helped me realize that the question of homelessness in underserved communities with mental health needs to go back and start at that foundation. Like, are people sick? Is that why they end up on the streets? Or do they end up sick once they are on the streets, right? Like, we really have to think about, could you live on the streets? Could I live on the streets? I couldn't survive a day on the streets without, some kind of escape or getaway, right? And of course, after a while of doing that, you are going to suffer from some issues. Mm-hmm. For me, like personally, thank goodness, like I have a home, I have friends, I have a lot of love and care in my life, but I also go through my spells of depression, of anxiety, right? And so it's like, when we take people to the streets or volunteers, I always tell them not to assume that they're the ones with issues, because we might also be the ones with issues. We might go in with that negativity, and that will bounce back on us, right? Mm-hmm. And the big, more than mental illness, people need to understand institutionalized and systematic racism. And I feel like that has a bigger role in causing people to become homeless, because the setup is so clean that there's hardly any way out of it, right? And then we just deal with the stigma. Oh, homeless people are crazy, or they're like this, or they're like that. Well, they're still human beings. They're still people, right? And how did they get there? I feel like those are the questions we need to start asking the community. Like, how did they end up there, right? Something had to happen to them for them to end up on the streets. How are we not supporting the community and the people and everyone around us? Why don't they have the resources that can stop them before they end up on the streets?
Absolutely.
So I just think that we're looking at things the wrong way, because that's what we have been taught. We're playing into that institutionalized and systemic racism by saying, oh, well, you probably had these mental health issues and that's probably how you ended up on the street. But where are the statistics that show, where's the research that show any of this?
Yes.
I haven't had access to it. But yeah, that's a long answer to your question, I would say.
So, okay, so going off of that then, what would you say is a solution or step to educating the community about the fact that, we can't just blame the people who are on the streets. We have to figure out a solution. How do we go about, getting the community to come together and solve?
By education, by teaching, and by experience. Like, I think those are when we have to really sit down and think about our own biases as a community and as people, and sit down and say, like, where do we start? Like, how do we help them? For me, that's reading about these things, right? Like, checking the statistics, checking the facts. For example, I can just tell you, if, let's say, I'm going to use a young boy as an example. If a young boy grew up in a certain community and, let's say he doesn't have both parents, or both parents are working and he's living with his grandma. When I was teaching 5th grade, they were already telling me that they experienced racism by 5th grade from their teachers, from their education system, right? Why do 5th graders even know what that is?
Yeah.
And not in a good way, right? And so after that, you're constantly going to school and you're coming back home. Most likely, like, you're living in an area that you're scared to walk back home. Like, you taking the bus or whatever, you're like, okay, am I going to get jumped? What's going to happen? Their goals are not like dreams. Their goals are survival. Like, they just want to get home and have some food to eat and be safe. That's the first part, I think, of systematics. And then being around the community, like, have we ever thought about why these kids feel like they can be NBA players and athletes and rappers and not like lawyers and doctors and engineers or whatever? It's because we don't show them that they can be, right? They have none really in their community that look like them. I can go, or you can go, whatever, but they can't really relate to us on the same level as someone that is from the community and that did make it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that kid would then, like, go to middle school or go to high school. How many times has he been pulled over by the police by then? How many times has he been harassed? How many times has he been scared by that time? Because he might know, like, one of these days I'm not going to make it. Imagine living like that. Yeah. And then probably getting arrested for something they didn't even do. And then after that, not having enough money or support to post bail. Like, we know sometimes bail is like, what, $200, and people end up incarcerated, and then they end up being in solitary confinement because you don't go in as a criminal, but a lot of times jail will make you a criminal, right? And let's say, like, they come out or whatever and they have nowhere to go. After that, they might end up on the streets. And then we're over here like, oh, well, you have schizophrenia and you have bipolar disorder and whatever. I don't have enough education in mental illness to diagnose someone else or their pain or their life, right? Yeah. So I think that's the process. We need to change that process and end it before they get to that point where they're giving up and they have nobody really with them.
Mm-hmm.
When I've gone to work in homeless communities, whether they're here or anywhere in the world, humans are humans. They just want their dignity. And I feel like, I've seen so many people go and just throw food at them or throw clothing at them and not have a conversation, not make eye contact, not say, hi, like, this is my name. What is your name? Right? Are we doing them a favor by just, no, we're making ourselves feel better by saying, like, oh, well, at least I did something. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? Something is not enough. You throwing food and clothing at a human being is not enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need people that are doing this work to step up and get to know them. That's how you're going to see the patterns. That's how you're going to realize, like, not saying anything, not speaking up, not changing the system is part of the problem. You're not helping because you're
Absolutely.
reminding them of the hierarchy, right? Like, if you go and you throw food and clothing or say things like, I gave them a sandwich, they didn't take the sandwich. I hate when people do that because I want you to try eating the same food every single day and someone acting like you don't have a right to an opinion or a right to dream or a right to wish you had something else. Because we do that. I've seen it so many times
Mm-hmm.
where whatever I should give you should be enough.
Yeah.
Well, how is that fair? But yeah, like, we need to really study systemics. We need to study cultures. We need to study, like, anthropology in order to get the right answer, because medicine and science are facts. They only take you so far, but there's a gray zone, and it's called humanity that we're missing. We're completely missing that, right? And stop looking at, I think, let's say, Black Lives Matter or the whole racism or systematics as one thing. It's a part of a bigger picture, which is a setup to fail us. And we
Mm-hmm.
are not the minority, we are the majority. So that thinking needs to shift too, like, all these things are there so we don't think outside the box, so we don't understand that these are humans. And to be honest, I feel like the underserved communities have welcomed me and loved me so much more than people that I know that have been in my life for a long time, because they don't get it, right? They get it. If you go to them smiling and want to have a conversation, of course they're going to kind of push you away, because in the past, everyone's always wanted something from them. So it's about building that rapport and that relationship. And I personally have been doing this work for maybe more than like 5-6 years. And in it, I have never had a bad experience because I don't go in judging them, right? I go in saying, I want to learn from you because you're making it. I can barely make it day to day with everything I have, but you're still choosing to live. And that's so beautiful to me, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
Yeah,
like, so let me take
that's
a breath. Sorry,
yeah.
guys, talking too much.
No, this is great. So, kind of going back to what you said about, people who are privileged have a certain mindset going in if they are doing some sort of work with the homeless community, that, take what I'm giving you, like, I'm giving you this, you should be expected to take, kind of thing. What do you think how do we break that? How do we break this, like, savior complex that some people might have when they try and go in and, like, do the right thing? It is helpful, but like you said, going in,
Yeah.
like, I'm doing this, I'm gonna feel good, like, here, take what I'm giving you.
I think the best approach that I do is really check myself, like, have a conversation with yourself that morning or that night and just really write it down. Like, why am I doing this? And if the answer is for them, that is the wrong answer, because it is not for them. It is never for them. It's always to fill a void within yourself and to give yourself worth and to give yourself importance. And that's okay. Like, that means that you understand what you're going in there for. And I would just say, like, get to know more things about, like, systematics, get to know their lives. You learn these things from experience. You don't ever learn these things from books. Books are just an anchor to kind of teach you how to behave based on someone else's perceptions and biases and experiences, right? You can
Right.
make your own. Like, really go in and ask them, be like, like, why don't you want this sandwich? And maybe they'll say, like, I'm allergic to tuna or peanut butter, or I'm diabetic, or this is all I've eaten for the last 3 years. But I think that anybody that sits down and is literally like, why am I getting mad at them for asking me for what they want? Right? Like, that there's something within you. It's some kind of ego or some kind of like negativity that needs to go, because how can you get mad at a homeless person for anything? Like, I would be happy. I'd be like, you feel comfortable enough to ask me for something, because that is one of the hardest things for us to do as human beings, right? But through experiences, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, surrounding yourself by people that are not like you, whether, going to like hang out with friends that you normally don't hang out with, and really listening to people and not always thinking that we're right about everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that that is the most important tool we can have as human beings, and being able to have people challenge us and to grow. Because if I was sitting here telling you like, oh, Krysta, like, I'm right about everything, like, I've done this work and I teach it and I get it, I'm ignorant. I'm like a moron if I say that, right? Because I'm not the same person I was a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I expect myself and confine myself within these boundaries to not grow? And how do you grow? When you have conversations, really open and true conversations with people without judging them. Like, I can't look at you and tell you your life story just by judging you, like looking at you, right? So
Yeah.
how can I do that to the homeless community? And there's so many, like, we think, oh, like, they're out here mainly because of mental illness, or they're druggies or whatever, right? But no, some of them are out there because they're immigrants and people brought them to their house, family members, and then kicked them out because they couldn't control them or deal with that responsibility. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are war veterans that have lost everything. Other people have gotten divorced and literally have to pay that 50% for alimony. And, others have degrees. They've came out here to get jobs or to become actors or like dreamers, but they didn't have support, and that's a big thing. Like, moving to a place and not having anyone, like, so there's so many reasons. And I just know that if we did do like some kind of survey or whatever, like, we could figure it out. And I can guarantee you it's not what we think it is. Like, that is not the problem.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. And you're really good with it. Like, you go in and you do great work, and you go in there with the approach that, let me get to know you, not here, like, bye.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but our last event that we had, there were two people running around with rods around one of our cars, and Cosm and I were just kind of standing there like, okay, because we knew they weren't going to hurt us, right? Like, the worst that was going to happen was you're going to break a window or something, but
Which,
I really can't get mad at you because I don't have a right to do that. I don't know what you've been through.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then just a reminder to our audience, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Yeah. Whatever questions you guys want to ask about Tena, about me, about what we do, anything.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the work that Tena does, of course, we do a lot with, homeless communities, but what have you seen, like, what changes have you seen, like, for people who are not necessarily in homeless communities, but like wanting to get involved, and like, what would your advice be for them?
I definitely think that people are wanting to do more work now because they do understand that could be us, especially with everything going on right now. Like, the screen can shift so quickly, and just the gratefulness. It's very interesting to me to see what COVID brought about in people, right? Because when I was working with refugees, I would see all of these posts and quotes of, like, it was their fault, right?
Yeah.
Like it was their fault for leaving their homes and leaving their families and escaping. And it was crazy to me, because then when COVID happened, people here started fighting over toilet paper. Like, they're not allowed to fight over food. They're not allowed to fight over resources. They're not allowed to give their kids a better future when they're being bombed and destroyed. But you're over here, like, fighting over toilet paper. You know, it's just really was very interesting to see. And I think that's what caused that change, because people were freaking out. Oh, I'm not going to get water. I'm not going to get this. And that moment was probably the awakening, right? Like, and I'm not saying go out there and be on the streets, right? Because that's not for everyone. And I respect that and I understand that. But there are other things you can do. You can teach, you can educate, you know, you can come from a place of love. You can read statistics. Like, you can, if you know a restaurant that's donating food, you can, like, let us know about that and we'll share it with the community. Like, you don't always have to be the ones giving the food on the street. Fundraising is equal, you know, spreading knowledge is equal. Like, go and go and sign all these petitions that have been going around for Black Lives Matter. That is part of the movement. You don't have to do everything. Like, I always say this to my friends, you don't have to believe in what I believe in, and you don't have to do what I do, but believe in something, do something. You care about the beach, go clean the beach. You care about the whales, like, go do something for the whales, you know, like, find that passion and move forward, because it's the same thing. We're all moving forward for something bigger, right?
Yes.
Like, nobody has to do things the way you do them or I do them. I like to be on the streets doing that work and practicing medicine, and because that's how I share my pain. That's how I share what I've gone through or what I've seen, by, you know, having a conversation with someone else about theirs and saying, look, like, I can't understand what you've been through, but I can relate to it, with my own experiences of not homelessness, but the days I don't want to get out of bed, and the days that I feel so drained where I feel like I can't go another day, you know, like, and sometimes that's enough. It's enough to just be vulnerable and to let people know, like, we experience this too. And I think that that's where society is failing us, you know, like, it's failing us because you're not allowed to have conversations about how you feel, because that means that you're weak. No, that does not mean that you're weak. That means that you're a person and you're operating from love and you have feelings. And that's how you can relate. At your purest form of who you are is when you can relate to other people. And once I think we practice that, that is how we can continue doing this work, you know, like, let's say if you were overwhelmed that day, or if I was overwhelmed that day, there should be no shame in going to the other person and saying, like, I'm absorbing this energy right now and I'm so heavy, you know, because that means you're connecting. That means that you're doing things that are right and you're not just cold and it doesn't matter to you. People feel that, right? People feel when you're really looking at them and their pain and you're just kind of like, I get it. And it's crazy to me because it's like, we have lost so many celebrities and so many happy people. And that's what we need to start seeing. Like, it's not their fault, and it's not about how loved they are or how cared for they are. You know, like, I have so many friends and I have so many people that love me, but when I'm in that mood, like, I'm in that mood, you know? And yeah, maybe if I didn't have that support system, I'd want to go off and be on my own and just zone out too, right? And that has nothing to do with my personality and who I am. That's the problem. And I don't understand why we don't have that level. When we go to the doctor, we use our brain so much more than our body. So why doesn't the doctor ask us, on a scale of 1 to 10, what pain are you feeling on the inside?
Yes.
Because, right? Like, I don't understand that. Like, because, and like, all the body aches, all the anxiety, all the, you know, sleeplessness, that has more to do with your mind than your body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also, I know, you know, like, and
Yep.
it's like implementing those 10 minutes, you know, instead of like being like disciplining kids, and they already get enough discipline. Like if they live in these areas, they're already getting enough negativity. They need to learn how to breathe. They need
Yes.
to learn how to calm themselves down. They need to learn how to like love themselves and take a moment for themselves and feel valued and worth something, right? So
Yeah.
let's teach them everything else, but let's not teach them how to survive. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I
Yeah.
wish when I was, you know, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was
What were
just
you
gonna say,
saying?
you know, these stigmas need to be broken, and these, you know, resources, because that's how you truly flourish, and that's what gets
Yeah.
wellness. But
And, you know, another thing is like, I think that like mental illness, just the word, we talked about this, I think, before, needs to change. Like
mm-hmm.
mental illness, it's so hard to be like, yo, like I have a mental illness, compared to like I'm going through something, I'm learning, I'm evolving, because the
Mm-hmm.
tools that I previously had are not working for me anymore. So I'm on a journey to like happiness and stability, because that's the point.
Yes.
There's a trick in calling it mental illness too, I think. I understand there it's wording, but from understanding systematics and wording, there's a reason for that, right? Like, I feel like people would not isolate themselves and feel horrible and be embarrassed if we just said, like, hey, I'm on a journey to happiness and I'm trying to figure out what works for me, compared to, you guys, like, I think I'm bipolar. You guys, I think I'm depressed. You see that energy? Like, it just
It
feels like a
shifts.
dark cloud on top of my head. And I'm just like, and then for your friends, like for my friends, for everyone, right? Like, first of all, you can't do anything about it, but don't make people feel bad. Don't make people feel worse for mistakes that they make or disappointments, because I can guarantee that they feel worse about themselves, you know? So there's a lot of codependency in our cultures that we need to recognize and understand and then take care of, especially in mine, you know, like, you know, I'm Indian, I'm Muslim. That's like a double whammy all the time. And being
Yeah.
a girl on top of that, it's like you're always crying, you're always sad, like you're always like this. No, I'm not. Like, I'm really not. And for the people that are listening to this, if a friend comes up to you and they're going through something, don't make comments unless they ask for your opinion. They don't want it. They just want to feel loved. They just want to feel like someone's listening to them and they get it, you know? And
Yeah.
I think that that's the biggest thing, the support. And how many people are going through this right now, right? And then what kills me is when like people can't talk about this. They think they're the only ones going through this, you know? They think all the happy people, all the successful people don't feel like this anymore.
Yeah.
Trust me, they do. And a lot of times this is the anchor. This is what's like, damn, like I felt like this and I feel better now, so I'm gonna hit it double hard, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like, I'm not embarrassed of anything, because I'm a human being and I have feelings, and these are the same feelings that help me relate to the crowd and other human beings,
Yeah.
right? It's a double-edged sword. Like, of course, if you're working in this kind of work, you're gonna get sad.
Mm-hmm.
That means you care. And when you get sad, you're gonna push twice as hard. So you guys, if you're depressed or if you're having issues or whatever, it's cool. It's like having a cold. You know, don't you're having a problem right now, work your way out of it. It is not a death sentence. It is not a stigma that the community creates, because I'm telling you, the people that are creating this are probably haters, because they didn't have that support and that love for themselves, so they don't want you to have it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
We do have 2 questions. Just get to them
Okay.
before we wrap
Uh-huh.
up. Oh, yeah, 3. Okay. First one. Let's see. How do you think we could rally others to support more often, especially those who may not be as interested in raising awareness necessarily?
I think that by assuming that they're not interested, that's already like not the right way to go about. I think that leading by example and creating a comfortable space without judgments is how people grow and is how people learn. It's kind of like, you know, like the quiet kids in class, where just because they're quiet, people assume that they don't have ideas or they don't get it. And
Yeah.
it is our job as leaders to give someone else the platform to see their opinions and to see what they want to bring to the table. So I think it's just having things like this and creating an open space until people feel comfortable enough to say something or do something about it. Because I think that that's our job, you know?
Yeah.
People want to do the work. The amount of people that tell me all the time they want to join, they want to do something, they just don't know where to start. Here's where you start, by linking yourself with allies and people that are going to hold your hand and be like, let's do this. And if at any moment you want to stop and it's too much for you, I will not judge you. Every step forward is still a step forward. I hope that answers it.
Yes, thank you. And then we have another question. What do you do to maintain your passions and commitment?
Honestly, like, I just love the work that I do, and I try to make sure that I am who I am every single day. And so I'll share something with you. I try to do one good thing every day, whether it is like I keep a bunch of like clothes and care kits in the back of my trunk with food and water. Whenever I'm at a stop sign or I see someone, I'll ask them and I'll give it to them. If I see like a random dog on the street, like I'll go give the dog water. You know, if like a few days ago I posted this man beating the hell out of a homeless man. By the way, guys, he works at Baja California. You guys need to call and make sure he gets fired. I'm working on that right now. But I stepped in. There were 10 dudes that were behind me not doing anything. And I stepped in. The girlfriend was provoking her boyfriend to beat this homeless guy, right? And for me, I'm not saying put yourself in bad situations. I just would feel like a fake if I'm over here telling you guys about all this work that I do, but I don't do that work when no one's watching. Because that's when it counts, you know? It's about your personality. Like it becomes a part of who you are, not just doing it when you feel like it. I don't agree with that. Like, I think that's who you should be from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You should be looking for these things: advocacy, standing up for someone, just helping. Help an old lady cross the road, you know, like just do things like that and you'll feel better. And even if they say no and they don't want it and they reject you, it's all about your intention. That's what matters.
Absolutely. And then I know we're a little over time, but we just have one more question.
It's cool.
Can you please share a story which gave you hope?
I think my biggest teachers were when I worked in Athens, Greece, and I was there for 6 months doing refugee work in the shelters. I worked with young adolescent boys, and I worked from 16 to like 21, and I worked with women and children. And when I would see them smile and when I would see them happy to just live, that's what gave me hope. Because these people walked from India, Pakistan, Sudan, Afghanistan. They walked all the way to freaking Athens, dude. Like, how does that not give you hope? You know, like, how do I sit there and complain about my life when you freaking walked? And, you know, I would work with them in the kitchen. Like, I would cook with them. When I would cut onions, I cry a lot, right? They would freak out just to see tears in my eyes. They would take the onions from me and be like, you're not doing this anymore. Or when I would carry groceries, they would help me carry groceries. Or when I was hurt, they would just crowd around me and just love me. And, you know, like, whatever I do for those moments. Call me selfish, but that's what I am. Like, those moments are what keep me going, because for me, they're permanent. They're not like temporary relationships or things that I've gone through. That is permanent in my life, you know? But there you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know we're a little
It's
everything
okay.
else so important, so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Any last comments?
Thank you all for having me. Like, I really do appreciate the work that I do. Krysta is amazing. Krysta, I always tell you how much I appreciate you because you do have so much light in you that you bring to everyone's life.
Thank
And I mean that. And for everyone like watching and sharing, reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to Krysta, reach out to Tena. You're more than welcome to come join. You're not in this alone. Like, if you want to reach out, if you're having a bad day, if you want to talk about it, like, let's do this, talk about it, because the feelings that you feel just mean that you're human,
Mhm.
And I think we need more vulnerability in the world today. Like, people have told me, oh, you care too much, or you feel too much, or you love too much. You're always so serious. Well, I'm sorry. I have shit to do with my life, and obviously you don't. You know? And it took me a long time to get this far because, yes, those comments would hurt me, and I would get depressed, and I would feel like a psycho every time I went home. But you know what? I would much rather be surrounded by people like my team that gets it, that literally put their lives on the line for other people and speak up than people that don't get it, because it's not for them. It's not for them to understand. They want to continue living their minimalistic life that is materialistic, and they will never feel what your capability of feeling is. And
Yeah.
that's all right.
No,
Thanks,
I
guys.
like you. So thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you
Anytime.
for coming and watching, all your comments, very much appreciated. And we hope to see you next week again, same time, same hour. Thank you
All
again.
right. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Take care, everyone.
Bye.